Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of It's Me, Not You. Today, I'm joined by my fabulous co-host. Hello, Jake.
Hello.
Hello. Hello, Melissa.
Hi.
Hi. For today's episode, we wanted to talk about protection and kind of what that means to us. What are some practices that we do? And what are some ways to maybe keep us how we feel psychically protected, spiritually protected, physically protected, and all that good fun stuff? Because right now, with how the energy of the planets are, of humans right now, things feel a little stressed, feel a lot of tension, and definitely feeling people can unintentionally kind of send jabs at us that get stuck into our energy field. And what are some ways that we can protect ourselves from that? So I'm going to start with you, Jake. And Jake, what does it mean to you for kind of psychic protection or spiritual protection? What does that mean for you?
Yeah. So, whether that be psychic or just, plain personal protection throughout the day, I think it's really just about kind of having your energy very grounded and centered and having a really clear line between your personal energy. And then also, it's kind of like when lock your front door in the morning when you leave for work,
Mhm.
it's kind of just having a healthy parameter kind of set down of, how far someone's energy or something's energy can come into my space.
Right.
Um, just to kind of give a little bit of wiggle room in between, and so when we talk about using protection or setting up protective measures, whether that be energetically, magically, psychically, it's really just coming up with a tool that is going to be kind of that prompt for that energetic barrier, whether that be some people will call it a bubble, some
Mhm.
people will call it golden light, or everybody has a bunch of different ways to visualize it or to kind of conceptualize it. Honestly, my personal favorite one is one that I learned from my Reiki healing classes years ago, when that was really just the bubble,
Mhm.
and it's kind of that whole, imagining yourself, Glinda the Good Witch, in that bubble, and just kind of
Yeah.
seeing that in your mind's eye, come from the heart center, and then kind of being a bubble that, you can stretch your arms out and still be in it, essentially like a big giant hamster bubble. And then you are kind of, laying down the law when you're creating that bubble, and you can set intentions for it, being
Mhm.
like, I am putting up this bubble to separate my energy from others today. And of course, you can, tweak that around if you're an energy healer or somebody that does client work. You can always put the caveat there that, however, spirit can still come in and out,
Mhm.
to communicate or to do work, um, should I agree to do so.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, go ahead.
How about for you, Melissa? When you hear psychic protection or spiritual protection, what comes to your mind and what are some things that you might do?
So I do a lot of, kind of what Jake mentioned too. I think most people have like a morning ritual of some kind to start their day. I know I start with gratitude and then go into, what might be ahead for the day. I try to talk to my spirit guides as
Mhm.
well, um, to kind of give me a heads up for things I might need to pay a little bit more attention to. But I do tetrahedrons for protection. And then my door, I always do a lot of door stuff. Like I tap
Mhm.
my talisman on the door to protect my house. I talk to my house when
Mm.
I leave to make sure Maggie stays taken care of. And um, I've gone to now weekly blessing of my doorway with my Bridget oil.
Mhm.
So for a little extra during the springtime.
I mean, I feel with like, any type of protection, immediately I think of condoms.
I know the whole
Not
time
your
that I was
bubble,
thinking, I was
Rachel,
like,
your spiritual bubble.
But in my
listen,
spiritual bubble.
if you were half listening to this episode, you would think you were taking like a sex ed class.
Exactly, guys. Let's talk about protection. You don't want to get any STDs, but let's talk. They could be spiritually transmitted diseases. So when I think of, kind of spiritual protection, definitely for me, I like bubbles. I prefer to do columns of light, and I also like to do more than one. So I definitely like to make sure I ground myself, and then depending on kind of the need of the day, maybe how I'm feeling, I'll pull up different colors of columns of light. And then for me, I feel like some people can get through the first one, perhaps the second one, and they're really not going to get through the third. We all kind of work in high intensity positions where we have things coming at us a lot. We have people that might not be pleasant, and it's like, how do you kind of energetically protect yourself for not taking that energy in, because then that gets embedded into our cellular tissue. So we definitely don't want to take on other people's energy, their thoughts, because we don't want to do that, because it can make us sick, can make us tired, make us fatigued, make you anxious, have a panic attack, and you're like, why do I feel panic? And then you're like, oh wait, that's not me, that's you. Hope you're well, but I'm sending it back. Like, like, no, thank you. But I mean, I think there is a real call for, it's not even just for me, it's not even just protection. I also look at it, I kind of put protection in with cleansing. Like, I've protected myself, but maybe I didn't protect myself as well as maybe I thought I did, or so many more things came at me. Maybe I went to, I run a lot of errands with my son. We went, you go to the grocery store, you go to the Target, you go to Kohl's, you go, and you're like, oh my God. Like, it's a lot of people coming at you. And then, yeah, I may protect myself, and maybe I didn't, because we're not perfect. And there's sometimes we forget because you get running and going. Then it's like, what do you do to cleanse yourself? I might physically wipe down my body, set the intention that any energy that came to me, I'm sending it back. I might pull out some selenite sticks and do like a cleansing kind of crystalline circle that will pull it up and pull it down. Maybe get out my sage, Palo Santo. What are some things that you guys do? Maybe for, yes, protection is important. Maybe for you for cleansing, Jake, what are some things that maybe you do for that?
Oh yeah. So for cleansing, really my favorite for this year has been using Florida water
Oh,
in my
yes.
practice, and I love to make my own homemade Florida water. Um, and it's honestly, I think, a really slept on ingredient in terms of energetic practice and spirituality.
Uh-huh.
It's vastly used, but I definitely think that in terms of, talking about the mainstream culture, I think that it is not really looked at as in depth as it really deserves to.
Florida
Um,
water.
yeah, Florida water.
Why do you
So
think it's not looked? I'm sorry, I'm jumping off. Why do you think it's not really looked at and respected now?
Honestly, I do think it is a culturally significant issue with that as well, because a
Okay.
lot of times Florida water was introduced, down south, New Orleans. So it can be used. Oftentimes, you might find it used in Spanish practices and even just religious practices, and then as well as the modern day African
Mhm.
American magical practices,
Gotcha.
that exist in the South. And so I think that just like a lot of things that come from marginalized practices, it's easy to
Mm.
look at that, um, and
As
a
not
lot of
effective,
as
or
not effective, or even to just go back because it was made by a man who was just making perfume, decades
gotcha.
ago. And then it was adopted as a magical practice, as a
Mhm.
magical ingredient. And so I think that it was just, pushed to the side, because I think that white sage, to be honest, became the kind of gold star for protection or for
Oh,
clearing,
yeah.
when there's several herbs, several, items and tools that can be used that I feel even work better than sage.
Mhm.
So Florida water for me personally is just this really beautiful item that will cleanse a space while also uplifting it as well, because it has floral ingredients as well. And as some of you might know, floral energy is deeply healing. Of course, it brings Mother Earth energy, abundance, that love,
Yeah.
joy, all of that stuff to the surface. So it really cleanses and neutralizes the space and brings the best qualities back out.
Nice.
Um, so I really love Florida water, and then I will also say that I love both cedar and sweetgrass for general clearing. And then also some of our listeners might use rosemary is
Mm.
also a really popular cleansing and protective ingredient as well.
Nice.
Um, yeah, so those are kind of my go-tos.
What about you for Melissa?
Kind of just piggybacking off of what Jake said. I do that too, but I like to use rosemary with water
Mm-hmm.
to like do a water blessing around the house after I do sweet grass and I do like cedar. I have had it once where I went to go do this clearing and I brought white sage and the thing was like, what's that? Like, I don't know what that is. That's not around here. Cause it is. It's like a zone 9 to 11 of the South plant where white sage is grown. So then
Mhm.
once I got out tobacco and cedar, it was like, yeah, okay, see you later.
Mm.
Um, so I do think that that has, different effects based on where you are. And it's really good to use the things that are around you. It's more sustainable too.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Um, and you're kind of working with your land spirits at the same time. One of the new things that I started to do, which is fun, is they make these chakra loofahs. Have you seen those?
No.
They come with like the essential oil. I got one for my birthday, and then it has a crystal in them.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been using that every day. It's just like the intention of
cleansing that one chakra.
Yeah, it's just for the heart, but they have them in all.
That's awesome.
All flavors.
All flavors of chakras, guys.
It smells so good. Like my whole bathroom smells like the heart chakra.
I love it. And what does the heart chakra smell like to you?
Oh, heaven.
Oh, I love it.
Happy. It's happy. It's so happy and uplifting.
I'm just curious. What does the heart chakra smell like?
And I've noticed a difference even with Maggie. Like she wants to camp out in the bathroom.
I love that. That's awesome.
So it smells good.
That's a really great idea.
The printer, if you hear the noises in the background.
I just thought I was finally getting some psychic phenomenon. Thank you for ruining my joy. I guess my heart chakra is not going to smell like heaven.
I mean, because the shower is where I do my talk in the morning, like my spirit guide chat about like what's going on, and water is a really good, movement for energy. And then I use my crystals during the day. I'll also use some essential oils, if I'm, depending on what the day is bringing, if I have a meeting or I know that something is going to be a little more stressful. I've been using a lot of orange oil lately, the neroli.
Nice. Jake, what were you about to say?
God knows. Oh,
God knows.
I was going to piggyback off of what Melissa was saying about how she uses the chakra loofah.
Yeah.
I really always just love taking advantage of using, bathroom and bathroom time, kind of self-care time, to be a cleansing ritual of sorts, using the shower, for example. Let me back up. So if you think about it, your bathroom is a place for sanitation. It's, we go to the bathroom, we wash ourselves, we zhush ourselves up for the day. So it really energetically already holds a space where we are meant to cleanse ourselves off and to let things go down the drain, and then of course you bring the beautifully magical power of using water as well. So you can even use your shower time as a cleansing practice and set the intention that the water is what's cleansing you. And what's even awesome too, because we were just previously talking about rosemary is actually really great herb for, of course, protection and kind of recharging. It's actually really great for hair growth as well. So a lot of people in the witchy community will also make a hair rinse out of rosemary, and in your shower you'll just pour it over your head, let it run through the hair, and it actually really does, number one, help with circulation in the scalp, regrowth of hair, blah blah blah, and it's also protective too. So I like to make self-care practical and also magical at the same time. And so I really like to just kind of take advantage of little moments like that, because I know that for some people it's really hard to budget me time, especially for parents, people who live in close quarters with family, or just busy work life.
Absolutely.
It can be hard. So I think that everything can be magical if you make it. So,
it's all about intention.
And I'll say another thing that I like to do, and I'm sure all of us like to do this, is I call on the angels for protection. I'll call on Archangel Michael, call on Gabriel, call in whomever I feel called to kind of work with at that moment. And even like for difficult conversations, I mean, for me, I need a little bit of a filter. I need a little bit of a shield, so I'll call in the angel and I'll just say, please help me to communicate the way in which I want them to hear me. And, it's kind of like a mutual conversation. So, I mean, all about calling in the angels for protection, like Archangel Michael, he's the man. And even if I'm at a store and I'm like, I don't feel comfortable, I don't like that person, I'll be like, Archangel Michael, can you make them go away? and then you can't, and then you're like, oh, where'd they go? Like, and they're gone. So I mean, I do feel there is a lot of power in making sure, like, Melissa says she calls in her spirit guides, and Jake does as well, calling in your team, calling in that spiritual protection, calling in that bubble to kind of surround you and protect you. What are some other ways in which you feel that kind of setting up some spiritual protection would benefit you? How about for you, Melissa?
So for me, I do a lot with the circles, putting circles up for protection, and what I'm doing, making sure to honor and thank after, at the end of the day. So it's gratitude in the beginning for, I'm grateful for this day, I'm grateful for this new, and go through everything. I usually pick an oracle card in the morning to just kind of a setting my tone for what the day is going to bring. And then at night, it's all about being thankful, as to the directions, to my power animals, to the guides that have helped me throughout the day,
Nice.
to kind of set that before going to sleep. And it really depends on what I'm doing. I mean, if I'm doing a reading or a clearing, it's a little bit different for protection, but the basis of it is always the same. I'm always doing a magical circle. I really like Palo Santo. I have the incense sticks, so I think I have like 3 of those in the car I found, and 3 sticks of sage. Like, who doesn't have it in the vehicle? So I like to sage myself and Maggie in the morning. And then, you can get really into it. And I do think that the more intention you put into it, the more powerful that it is, but you can't take away from what we think of as the mundane, just doing our circle and our bubble. But you put your seatbelt on the car without even thinking about it. You're not like, ooh, my magical polyester, thank you for protecting me. And, you're not going through a speech like that. You just know it's protecting you. So you don't have to make it complicated.
I'm like, I give thanks to my car for protecting me.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't like,
I'm like,
rub on
thank
my
you,
seatbelt
Duchess.
like this is
I
my
love you,
protection.
Duchess. Thank you for getting me to work, Duchess. You're my favorite friend. Yes, I call my car Duchess.
I love that.
Attitude of gratitude goes a long way.
It does. Gratitude and thankfulness.
And another thing, I don't know about for you guys, but at work, I have, like Melissa grids her, her doorways. I've got my doorway to my office is gridded. I have Palo Santo, that I can whip out and kind of go over and spray the office if I need to clear out the energy and, kind of set the energetic tone of the office. There's definitely a lot of fun stuff. I know Melissa has a book that she recommends. Melissa, what's the name of the book that you recommend?
Psychic Protection. It's by Ted Andrews. He's the same one that wrote Animal Speak, some nature books as well. So yeah, there's just a lot of like simple things that you can do to help protect yourself. And it speaks to several different cultures. So it's not just, kind of one-sided with things.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest thing that for me is, being an energy healer is I really set in powerful intentions and calling in exactly what I'm looking for, what I need for the day. And I utilize a lot of crystals. So, I mean, I love using crystals. I've got doorways, like I said, gridded. We have, like right now, I'm sure we have shungite sitting by our computer. I mean, I know it's not protection, but it's helping EMF rays. Look at Jake's face. He's like, do I have shungite? I don't know. Do you?
I know, like, where is it?
I don't. Those waves are just microwaving me.
You got to get some shungite, my friends. But not even that, like shungite's good for grounding, but there's other crystals, like not to take things personally, bronzite, that's a perfect stone. There's a lot of like just cleansing and just, holding on a crystal, put it in your pocket and, kind of allowing that energy to kind of flow through you, flow over you and helps, kind of juice you up and cleanse you and make you feel yummy and juicy inside. Yeah, maybe any dinner. Maybe any dinner.
Do you use the egg cleansing at all? I know we're kind of getting into
you
spring.
did say that about we talked about that in a previous episode and I'm like, I don't know what that is. It's like when you drop an egg on your head.
Yes. I just did that 2 days ago. It's great for your hair too.
Listen, I value my bath time as well and I throw in Epsom salts and you know what? I'm just going to get an egg, crack it over my head and I don't mean any disrespect with the egg stuff. I'll do it. I'll do it. Is it like a super cleansing?
Yeah, no,
like
it
all
is.
of you.
It's a major removal of stuff when you use the egg cleanse. Like it's a pretty powerful one.
Oh, I believe it. I'm if you're getting dirty, it better be good.
Yeah.
Anything else that you guys want to add for this psychic I have a question.
Yeah.
And we're going to start with Melissa on this one. How do you feel like if somebody's actually psychically attacked you?
How do I feel? So I have
How would you know if that somebody's like maybe sent some energy your way that's not for your best and highest good?
You don't feel right. Like I might feel sleepy. I might feel cranky out of nowhere. In the beginning, I would have to take a nap and fall asleep. Now I have it set up with a couple of heart chakra filters and a couple of other filters.
Your
Like
loofah?
I can almost, yeah, my loofah. I can almost feel something like
Doesn't.
pulsating at me. And then I know that there's
And then do you
something-
automatically do like you shield up, then you do a cleansing?
Yeah, I'll do a cleansing because at that point something has gotten through my shields, at least in some kind of a sense. It's not
Yeah.
all the way in, but it's at least in my aura.
Mhm.
And then that's when I really work to, you know, to do it. And then I try to do a lot of work with peace, like wherever it came from. I don't like to send things back. I'm a little different. I want to transmute it because I don't want to send back negativity or whatever it is that somebody sent me. I just want it to be done. Because if you send something back to somebody, and I'm not judging or saying anything for those who do. It's just, if it goes back, then there's more and it just builds and it's like a dirty snowman. And I just want that energy to go away. So I do try to transmute it as much as possible.
Nice. What about for you,
Yes.
Jake?
What was the question?
How, if you've ever experienced maybe a psychic attack against you, you know, or maybe just somebody just kind of throwing some darts at you, how have you, and maybe your protection, you know, wasn't as, you know, strong as it is now. How did you know that you weren't 100%?
Oh, I would be real squirrely. All of a sudden, I would be anybody remember the show Malcolm in the Middle, the mom from
Yes.
it? All of a sudden, I'm Lois. You know, you just feel very much like her, and you're just kind of like rushing through your day, like your head's
Yeah.
on fire. That usually will tell me that like either someone's tugging on me, or like I have just like walked away from an exchange with like somebody's energy all over me. Um, and it's fun too because there's so many different things you can do. I also want to tell people jewelry is a really beautiful and profound
Oh,
way that you
yeah.
can use protection. I know we all buy crystal bracelets, necklaces, things like that, and you can absolutely have the intention and use them for a purpose of protection.
Definitely.
My favorite crystals to wear would be smoky quartz.
Mhm.
That's my top one, and then also tourmalinated quartz. So the pieces of tourmaline and quartz,
Yeah.
because like Melissa was saying, that actually transmutes negative energy
Mhm.
and kind of turns it into a generator. So what's fun is that you can use that crystal and then kind of draw on it in meditation
Right.
or for another thing that you're doing. So it's kind of like taking advantage of it. Somebody wished you ill, and now I get to use that energy to give me a boost. You
You're
know,
like, thank
it's
you.
exactly. So yeah, I don't know if I necessarily have always had like a tough issue with kind of psychic
Yeah.
attack, quote unquote. But over the years, you can definitely kind of find your own tips and tricks. Like personally for me, I have a little spirit that works with me and kind of just like loops it back around. You know, just kind of loops it back around before it even gets to me, so I don't have to worry about it. Kind of like
Nice.
my postmaster, you know.
Return to sender.
Return to sender.
Yeah. You know, it's fun, it's customizable.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the biggest message is that, you know, develop your own, you know, kind of spiritual protection practice. See what works best for you. It can be using oils, it could be lighting sage, it could be using Palo Santo, it can be whatever you feel is in your best and highest good, maybe carrying a crystal. Just see what works best for you. And on that end, is there anything else you guys want to add in before we wrap this up?
Just the best way, I think, to find what your personal protection is to meditate or to journey and ask your guides, ask them to show you what will help you. And don't be surprised if things change over the time, you know, as your gifts grow, as situations change, they might offer you different things to just help you for where you are now.
And for you, Jake?
Honestly, just like check in with yourself and ask, you know, what do I feel like I want to use today? Like sometimes I'll stick with just an energetic bubble. But then other days I'll be like, you know what? I feel like that's not going to cut it today. Because the number one thing is like, if you're not buying it, the spirit's not selling it, you know? So like,
True.
if I don't feel like that bubble's enough today, then it's not going to be enough. So then I have to try another tool. And if that one feels right to me, then you're good, you know? So you have to go with what you are kind of inclined towards. So if you're inclined towards crystals, reach for a crystal. If you're inclined towards angels, try an angel. Earth energy, or a plant, things like that, lean towards that and try there. And then kind of look around and see what your other options are. You know, play around with it.
Yeah, and then look out, you know, like Melissa recommended, the psychic protection. There's lots of books, courses. that you can take for any type of protection. And I think whatever makes you feel that, like you said, protected, definitely utilize that. And on that note, I hope everyone has a great night. Thank you so much, Jake. Thank you so much, Melissa.
Yes, everyone have a good night and
Bye.
use protection.
Use protection. Amen.